This is Savio. I've been seeking answers to some of life's most perplexing questions my entire life. In 2014, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, and ever since, I realized my calling existed outside of what I knew to be familiar. This podcast is your home for survivors like myself and those who are searching to find meaning to their why. In Season 2, the show includes a mix of coaching sessions followed immediately by interviews with those from all walks of life who have been successful in the business, marketing, coaching, and financial worlds. The intent is to show the human experience in its rawest form so that others may glean insight. Nothing is rehearsed or has been edited. As a board-certified wellness coach, my job is to ask the deep questions of those trying to make sense of their place in this fractured world. I believe life speaks to us in different ways. Many of us listen but don't know how or where to begin. As someone who has crossed the bridge between life and death, I say simply, begin where you are now and get busy living. If you liked today's episode, I would appreciate it if you could share it and subscribe. Be sure to tag me at The Human Resolve so I can reciprocate in kind. So without further ado, welcome to the Human Resolve podcast. In Season 2, Episode 12, entitled The One Where You Can't Push, Ash Shukla lives deeply looking for peace, not just prosperity. But when a troubled friend asks for his help, he must think back to the sage advice his grandfather once gave him. Hi, Ash. Good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So what would you like coaching on today?
So let's talk about, a emotional issue, right? So let's say that I personally, as I've told you, that I personally don't, but I'm going to go through a situation that I'm taking somebody through. So I found this person, and they are in a depression state, and their depressional state, the way they are expressing it to me, is at a point where they're hitting the rock bottom. What should we do with that? Or what are some of the things that you have seen that you can help them out with, so to speak?
Great. So what I'm hearing from you is that you have someone who's in a depression state and they have hit rock bottom, and you are just trying to find ways to support them in a good, positive way. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. So what would be a great outcome for today's conversation?
So today's great outcome would be that we go through a couple of things and really understand, where you are able to make a difference in terms of your expertise are concerned, right? Because people go through different things. I wish I can tell you that I have this problem, but I personally don't have not even health issue I can address, I would like to see like some of the ways where, you could help out, or what are some of the ways you could help out.
Okay. So the outcome would be most likely just to find ways and means to figure out how you can support this particular individual. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Great. Mm-hmm. So, Ash, has there ever been a time in your life when you've been unsure and confused?
There was a time in my life, yes. One time.
What was happening?
So for me, I was scammed. I lost a lot of money, and that hurt me emotionally pretty badly.
When you think back to that time, what was sort of running through your mind?
Anger, complete anger. Because I was mad at the person, because I had worked so hard to, get this far, and they hurt me. It's more of a betrayal of trust, right? So.
And how did you end up sort of working through that?
I actually went to my grandfather, and he helped me with, we were having a conversation with about everything, and then so he helped me out with that.
And what
And
were some choice words your grandfather said to you?
so one of the things he said that you have to find, like ask yourself, who am I? And he's like, start there, and then you can, and then so we worked through a lot of things, with that for us.
When you think
And
of
go ahead, please.
no, when you think of this idea of who am I, does that resonate anywhere in your physical body?
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, I think that it has a lot to do with, you know, where how fast I got out, basically. You know, like I got out. I mean, relatively fast, actually. I mean, I bounced. I tripled my business, in like less than some. I mean, some ridiculous amount. But anyway, so yes, it does.
Where in your body does that speak to you?
So who am I? I found out is that um, in my heart quite a bit. And I wanted I know who I am, and I've always been that way. But sometimes, when you're in a funk, you forget, right? So that's what happened there. But my heart is very pure.
So you speak about sort of who am I in the heart. Would you like to do a quick experiment with me?
Absolutely.
Great. Just want you to get comfortable in your seat. You can soften your gaze, or if you feel comfortable going inward, you can close your eyes. Just want you to take 3 deep breaths in and 3 deep breaths out. Just want you to turn your attention to your heart. Tell me what's happening, Ash.
I'm feeling relaxed. It's really calming.
If your heart could speak, what would it say?
First of all, I always, my heart does speak many, many ways, and I tell, people that I love you because I value them. You know, I value myself. I value human life, and you can do anything you really want.
Does this heart have any words of wisdom for your friend?
Yeah. This, I think that this friend doesn't let it out, and I think it's time to just let it out and really move things along and move it forward. So that way they are not stuck in a situation, one particular situation.
And how do you suppose that they could move forward and not get stuck?
I think they're trying to solve the problem emotionally, but physically is more practical issue than it is emotional issue. And they're not able to make a distinction between the two.
And
So
in
it's a more of a
yours,
physical thing. Go ahead, sorry.
and in your experience, sort of having to deal with figuring out who you are, what would be some ways that you could support your friend?
I mean, I have asked them already, who am I? So they're working on that piece. Um, I have asked them to identify some of the issues that they are really facing and write them down. Um, and so emotionally speaking, we have done things. Physically speaking, because it's more of a financial issue, it requires more mathematical equations than anything else, and that's something we haven't done yet. And
Since
that's
you
going to be our
spoke,
next step. Go ahead,
you
sorry.
spoke, you spoke about your grandfather, and I'm curious, what would your grandfather say to your friend?
My grandfather would say, like, look for peace and
Look
not
for
just
peace.
prosperity, right? I think that the person is stuck in a loop because, them and their entire family is because they are so much hung up on making this decision, which as a financial guy for so many years, as my past, I have found that the answer is, to some degree, it's it really in equations and figuring things out financially, and they are making the moves that are actually going to take them further down the path of, you know, wrong side of the equation. It's just not beneficial. So my grandfather would say, like, look for peace. Prosperity will follow.
Look for peace, and prosperity will follow. So, how could you maybe support your friend in terms of action steps towards peace?
I could give her some rituals, maybe some mantras, um, suggest some exercises perhaps to, and most importantly, sit down with them and have a heart to heart and really start drawing out some numbers. You know,
And what would you say to them to spur them along?
or say, come on, they're a good friend, so I can talk to them that way, I think. Yes.
Would you suppose they have any hesitation?
Yeah, I mean, like, they're they're shy and timid, so that's gonna make, that's what makes it difficult because I'm trying to move them along and I can't. And but I've learned from my grandfather is that you can't push people, you can only lead them. So, you know, that has to be that way.
So, what would be step one in that leading process?
Maybe get into more clarifying questions. Like just let them. It's almost like my sales conversations, right? Get them to ask them questions, so it will lead them to conclusion that I already know, perhaps. Not sure.
Okay. So then after the questioning, then what happens?
As they answer the questions and things of the nature, the goal is to get them to realize where the issue is, where now they have determined who they are. They know that part. We've gone through some of the other things, so we have gone through some internal things as I give them the mantras and all that. But alongside with that, getting them to get grounded and really realize that this is the real, they're it's like getting them to realize that two bad moves doesn't make a good move, right? In a simplistic format. No, they made a move before, they came out of it pretty good, and some things have happened and it went south, and now they're about to make another move that's going to take them further south. But before they make that move, they have to overcome certain hurdles, which is which which universe is telling them, and they keep getting declined. So there's a clear signs that they shouldn't do that, but they're not listening. So I think that they need to realize and listen to what universe is telling them and what's actually practically, possible too. So I mean, in both ways, the answer is clear, but they need to realize it.
Ash, what do you think your friend really, really wants?
Somebody to listen, but more importantly, to tell the truth.
Do you think they see you as that?
Yeah. Help couldn't hurt, but overall, yeah.
So you mentioned two things that they want. What do you actually think they need?
That's a good question. Maybe an emotional support. I'm not so sure, but I think what they need the most is clear guidance, financially clear guidance. Somebody like I'm at that point where we have done the emotional things, but they need clear financial guidance. And they're confused in that realm. Like they're really confused whether they should or should not do something. But go ahead.
Are you equipped to giving them that which they need?
Financially, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you feel that they would be welcoming to everything that you have to offer?
So far, they have accepted everything we have had to offer. I just haven't had this conversation about like the clear-cut financial path that they should follow. And I believe maybe it's just a conversation that I need to have with them that I haven't had. We have had the emotional conversations. We have pretty much some things to work with, but a practical conversation financially, we haven't had a chance to have it just yet because they want to exhaust all the possibilities of doing this thing that they want to do to take them, or what they believe is going to take them further, and they have been kept on trying on different things, and that's why I think that the conversation is imperative at this point.
The nature of your relationship, is there a distinction between friendship and business practical matters?
Yeah. I am not. We haven't convoluted those two. We are clear on like where we stand and where we don't stand, so to speak.
Do you feel that to some degree your friend would listen to some of your non-emotional pieces of information?
As far as I know, like we've been working together for some time now, so they will listen to everything else I had to say. I don't see a reason why they wouldn't.
So in sort of discussing all of this and you mentioning your grandfather and sort of figuring out and going back into the past of sort of those feelings that he conjured up for you and the advice that you gave. How does this all sort of land in terms of action steps for this particular dilemma?
I think the number one thing that it lands for me is that I just need to go, number one, just set up a time so I can, like the next move, which I was going to make next week, maybe make it faster and just go have the conversation. A heart to heart, open minded, honest financial conversation as to if they do X, what will happen? If they do Y, what will happen? And then at the end, leave it up to them to make the right choice and let them be the leader of that space. Help them, guide them in the right way, but ultimately, give them a clear choice and then let them make the choice.
Would that be something your grandfather would do?
Yeah, 100%.
When he used to do that to you, did you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I actually loved it in many ways.
So, how would you handle an obstacle if your friend wasn't really paying attention?
I mean, at that point, if they are constantly opposing to what I have to say, which hasn't happened yet, but if that does happen, right, if the persistence comes about and I don't know the solution, then I need to find some way to help them out. Maybe it's somebody else, maybe it's not me, but not giving up on them is important to me, at least. So maybe find them other solutions that could work for them.
So, how
That
would
would
you
be key.
express that to them?
I would just tell them. I mean, I've known them for so long. Say, hey, I appreciate. I'm trying my best here, but I'm just letting you know from my perspective what I know financially. However, I since it's it's not me who you need help or want help from. That's okay. The question is, who would you need to help you? Maybe it's somebody else, and it's fine.
And how would you get them to find out about those resources?
Maybe an online research, I suppose. But I know some, depending on what they're looking for, I could probably help them, but not sure. Like I think online research is probably the best way to go. But if they need to go that route, I'm not sure how far they need to go. Maybe I'm hoping the conversation would end the matter, but
So,
we'll
if,
see.
so if the conversation ends the matter, how can you hold yourself accountable to having that conversation and telling your friend how you really feel?
How do I hold myself accountable?
Mm-hmm.
I have a simple rule: either I tell you the truth or I don't. Like
Excellent.
I don't walk a middle road there. Like either I love you or I don't. That's it. There's no middle line. So in this case, having an honest conversation is important. We had a conversation before, but it was about emotional stuff. And then I found out about all these things behind the scenes that was causing all this. So that kind of flared up things.
I see. So, Ash, if you was to sort of check in back with that heart of yours, is there anything else that's it's saying?
It's at peace.
It's at peace. Excellent. So, we're pretty much at time with this portion of the coaching session, but is there anything else you would like to express?
I would just want to say thank you,
Yeah,
Javier,
sure.
for helping me with this.
Sure, absolutely. All right. So, Ash, we're going to transition into the interview portion. So, tell my listeners more about you and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Ash Shukla. I came here from India in 1989 with $20 to know English. Grew up here in Maryland. Ran into financial services. Wasn't bad. I was pathetic. I had to blackmail my dad through my mom to get my first sale. Eventually became a financial advisor, pretty successful one. I was managing over $300 million, started my own company, have helped several entrepreneurs, business owners in my field, and have received a congressional honor for my work. My new book is coming out soon, Financial Chakras, which I'm very excited about. I've written another book called Sell Like Crazy back in the day. And, I want to tell your listeners I love you guys.
So, tell me that struggle you mentioned coming to the U.S. with $20 in your pocket. What was that like?
So, like just like any other person, right? A foreigner that comes, and I'm sure your parents went through probably something similar, right? So working, going to school in the morning, working from 3 in the afternoon to 12 at night, walking, to and from work, obviously. And it was about 3 mile hike for me. Um, did that Monday through Thursday. On Fridays, I worked even longer. So that went on for about 2.5 years. It was a tough times. But I think it's the journey, right? So when I was coming here, I remember that my first plane ride as I was coming here, I was bowing down to my grandparents and everybody in 1989, and I took their blessings and all those things. And then we got into the plane at Bombay International Airport, and I remember smelling the Air India flight for the first time, looking at this amazing plane, maroon carpets and beige sidings and all that. And our plane was delayed by 4.5 hours, and we finally took off, and we came to London, and then I had to go to the restroom, and I didn't know how to ask. I mean, like a lot of times we feel like we when when something hits really hard, if we don't know what to do. And I think that life teaches us how to figure things out. And so I had to go to the restroom, and I didn't know how to ask. And I saw this door opening and closing, and people were all relaxed by the time they got out. And I'm like, wow, must be a nice resting place. Um, so finally, somebody helped me out, and then I went to ticket counter. My dad was like trying to communicate, and he couldn't communicate with the ticket counter person. And finally, an Indian lady was walking by, and she helped us out understand that we have missed our connecting flight. And we were like, wow, that was a blow. In the middle of the airport, we can't speak English. So we stayed at the hotel for a little bit, and then we went downstairs to eat. And the first meal, we didn't know what to order because we are vegetarian, and and we can't speak English, so it was tough for us. So we are reading the menu, we don't know what we are reading. So the lady, apparently, she ironically came over again, and she helped us out, and we picked a bread roll, a spaghetti, and a salad. So I'm like, I'm hungry. I hadn't eaten anything and all that. in excitement and in all that stuff. So I go for the salad. We had never had salad before. It was bitter and it was horrible. Then we go for the bread roll. I said, okay, fine, bread roll has to be good. So I go for the bread roll. That was like so hard I couldn't even bite it because it I found out later that it was a soup roll, so that's why I couldn't English soup roll, so that's why I couldn't bite it. And then I go for the spaghetti, which was completely plain. And none of them things, everything was so bland and it was like, horrible. And but next morning we figured it out. We made sure we got onto the next flight. And I think initial days of struggle is just like that, right? And um, is you just want to make it to your destination, whatever that is, you know. So, I mean, we came here for prosperity and peace and happiness and all that, and that's all is in your mind initially when you are going to school and then working full time and then in the whole 9 yards, right?
Now,
To us, that's go ahead, sorry.
fast forwarding now into the present, did you find the peace and prosperity you were looking for?
Yeah, of course, yeah, I'm pretty fulfilled
On that
in many
plane
ways.
ride, on that plane ride, what were you hoping for?
Oh, I was just excited to get on the plane. I was a 16-year-old kid, like what do I know, right? Um, I mean, we had dreams and aspirations, right? I mean, me and my dad, like we talked about in the second half of the plane ride, we talked about how we're gonna have, like, we never had a car and we're gonna have a car now, and how we're gonna buy, we're gonna figure things out and buy a house and all that stuff. So we all of us have a dream, you know, and I mean, we bought a house within 1 year of coming here, you know, which is which took a lot of work, but I mean, I couldn't be more fulfilled. I mean, I think that now we have three houses, right? Like, so my brother has a house, I have a house, my parents have a house. I mean, I think we have achieved everything we dreamed about to a good degree. I'm ambitious, so I'm going further, but as far as physical things are concerned, I'm pretty content.
Well, you mentioned that you go to sort of your book, Financial Chakras, are coming out. What are some key points in that book that could help some listeners out there right now who are struggling?
So some of the key pointers are number one, answer the question, who am I? Like, your chakras, your primary chakra, find that, where is that center? Because that will begin the journey. That will not end the journey, but that will begin the journey. Because you want to live a fulfilled and happy and prosperous life. And to do that, you have to find your, they say in American language, I think it's called your North Star, right? I think they say, what's your North Star, right? And I think that's important because once you find that, you can begin to illuminate that so strong that it dwarfs everything else. And I found that people who are successful financially, that's what they have learned to do really well. They didn't listen to what other people's North Stars were. They listened to their North Star and they figured it out and they made that and they illuminated it so so strongly, I should say, right? And my English being fourth language is the problem. So, so strongly that it it really didn't matter, because they were gonna shine. because they really found who they were. They understood their energetic flow, and they found their flow, not somebody else's flow. They didn't copy somebody's flow. They didn't care about anybody else's flow. They found their flow. And in the book, I'm writing about how to measure your potential in dollars and how to measure your emotions in dollars, which will get really interesting really fast. Um, alongside with chakras and what have you. But I think it's important to just get grounded, understand who you are. It's important because in a timeline of life, right? Because it's 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 like a scale, right? Like you're not like weight scale, but what do you call this? The ruler, right? The ruler.
Yes.
So if you take a look at a ruler and you put it on a table and you go from 0 to 12, right? So it's just like that. Your life is like goes from 0 to 100. So you don't necessarily skip the time, so you can't say today I'm 27 and tomorrow I'm 30, right? It doesn't work that way. It's 27 and tomorrow it will be 27 and one day, right? So that's how pretty much it goes. But I think emotionally we get caught up into this whirlwind of things and we listen to other people and we don't pay attention to who we are and we aspire to be somebody else who we are not and we try to get aligned with them, and that pollutes our energy in so many ways. So it's important to follow this figure out who you are and follow that path and be the I think that the most important thing I found is that you have to be inspiration for you. If you don't inspire you, why should somebody else? Like, ask yourself, are you your best mentor? And if the answer to that is no, then there's a problem.
I love that. How did you figure out your North Star?
I think in many ways I have been in my own world since I was a child. I was naughty, I was troublemaker, and I think I have been following my own little star. Like I'm very playful. I love having fun. It's just who I am. And and I've never lived by any other rules. So in many ways I've been following it, but I came to realization that okay, this is what I'm doing because when I was even in college, you know, even in school, I was like, I didn't need to go to school. I'm like, why am I doing this? So it was always a trouble for me because I would go to school, like, in India in 10th grade, to give you a quick example. I'm a fast observer and I'm a very visual person. So like for me, if I read a book, if I look at like a chart or whatever, I can literally take a snapshot. I'll remember that chart. Like that's how good of a thought process I have in my maybe it's photographic memory, I think they call it. So when I was going to 10th grade in as a board examination, and I saw all my friends studying whole year, and I studied for like a month and a half, and I was fine with flying colors. But that's my way of thinking. I think in condensed time frames, but that's me. Some people just can't do that, right? It's just not possible for them. So I think it's important for me, as time went on, I began to realize that the reason I was able to play a lot and have a lot of fun and really enjoy myself is because I was always in the moment, no matter where I was. And eventually I figured out that all the mistakes I was making, right, it was okay because even though, like, when I started in the financial career, people would say, oh my God, you're going to go sell insurance and you're going to go sell eventually investments, and what have you. But they would make fun of me and they would be like, you are not going to amount to anything. You're never going to make it. And of course, being Indian, you're always compared to cousins and other brothers who are doctors and engineers and so forth. Even though I was doing computer science, but it just at the end of the day, like, that comparison and all that, it affects you to some degree. But I think you can't. I never wavered in my thought process as to where I was headed. I mean, as hard as it was, paving the streets and pounding the streets and meeting the cold prospects and talking to people and going, what am I doing? Because I would do presentations, I would go like at different families' homes and do three, four presentations, and I would just get no, or I would not get any orders in for that day, and I wouldn't make money because I was on commission. And my dad would ask, "So how much money you made today? Or how did you do today, son?" And I would say, "Fantastic." Or okay, I had a word. I said unbelievable because he was in the middle of the line. So I said unbelievable, and then he said how much money you made today, and I would not have made any. And he's my brother or somebody else, and so it was constant comparisons, but for me, I never wavered, from what I was doing. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I didn't know quite why I was not succeeding, but I just didn't care to some degree. I mean, I cared when the words came out of other family members, it hurt me. But you know, um, overall, I just said no. I know I'm on a path, and it's my path. And then eventually, I came to realization that okay, this is what. And my wife says to me, like all the time lately, she's like, all the struggles you've been through since 1994 to now, and all the self-help, money that I've poured into I think I've poured into at least $250,000 in self-help so far, at least. And so, like since the young age, with my grandfather, and I was exposed to that, and then I was exposed to it in when I came here and got into the financial world. And she's like, all the struggles you've been through, the 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 consulting and all the stuff that I do, she's like you have taken out the core and you're really serving, and now ultimately has led me to, serve in ways that I never would have thought possible had I not stayed true to myself. Was it difficult? Yes. Was it easy? No. But like somebody made a compliment a few days ago, one of my clients, and he's like, Ash, you're the most well-rounded, because a consultant or coach that I have met. I mean, I know finances, I understand about emotions and all the things.
Yeah.
So to me, it's important that you stay true to who you are. Always have to stay that way.
So, in coming to a close with this interview, for my listeners that don't know too much about chakras and sort of your pieces of advice, and what would you give to someone right now listening who is really confused about what their purpose is?
I would say, like, go to a quiet place. Maybe you do this in the morning, right? Because in the morning, when you wake up, you can go take a shower because you're cleansing your body. Then after that, maybe go do sit down in front of God or do some, meditation, however you want to do it, in a spiritual place or and what have you. Go sit down, do some mala beads or rosary beads or meditation or something to calm yourself down, and then start reflecting onto the things that you really ask yourself, what do I really love? Who am I? Ask yourself a question, who am I? So the answer might come and say, I'm a writer, or I'm a creator, or I'm a lover, or I'm a not a bad boy lover, but I'm a lover, But you might even get something like, okay, I'm a go-getter, I'm intellectually sound, I'm very logical, I have OCD, I whatever you have, write it down, and then somewhere along there you're gonna find who you are. And if what you're doing in life is not matching who I am, it's time to refine it and really make it so that it's in alignment with who you are. The minute you do that is the minute your life will shift.
Wow, that's
Won't be
really
easy,
fantastic.
but it will shift.
That's fantastic. All right, so let everyone know where they can find you online or on social media.
Absolutely. So you can find me on YouTube under Ash Shukla, or just go to ashshukla.com. So ASHSHUKLA.com. Or you can also find me at financialchakras.com. That's my business website. So financial, CHAKRAS, chakras.com. And they can find me there. They can, if they just Google my name, they'll find me. I'm pretty much pretty much everywhere. So but they can find me on YouTube. I would highly recommend them go watch some YouTube videos. They would absolutely love it, especially if they're looking to improve their financial health. They would really love that.
Excellent, Ash. Well, thank you so much. This was very delightful.
Thanks, Avia.
Hi there. I really hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast episode of The Human Resolve. If you feel that others may enjoy this episode as well, please share socially at The Human Resolve. They can also visit my website, thehumanresolve.com, where I offer one-on-one coaching sessions, daily prompts to move you in the right direction, synced directly to your smartphone, and a subscription to my weekly newsletter where I probe into the secrets from living smarter to feeding your 3 brains. If you could also help me out and give me a review and rating on this platform, because I do care what you have to say, I would really appreciate it. Now, get out there, my friends, and get busy living.